Hi guys, so today's a reading day. It's muggy, it's icky out, so I come across a piece in this one chapter of this book that talks about therapeutic difficulties and how we deal with them. And I love this because it actually talks about the ending of the therapeutic process and how to basically self-soothe and parent yourself, okay? But it also gives details on what people struggle with. No amount of assessment and careful management will prevent destructive processes appearing in the treatment of patients with complex PTSD/DID. An attachment-based approach can help us to understand what may be happening to a patient and enable us to set up remediable action. Okay, so let's go with number one. Number one is problems around dissociative phenomena. These occur mostly with patients suffering from complex PTSD. They may emerge as a conflict regarding who is in control. Many of these patients have one or more destructive self-states that become very active when treatment appears to threaten the idolized attachment to their abusive caregiver. This can happen either when patients feel they are becoming dependent on their therapist and as a result start to fear a recreation of their earlier abusive relationships, or when the material they bring into the session challenges their idolized views of their abuser. This will elicit the terror of being re-abused, or worse, the fear of losing their caregiver altogether. When this takes place, patients may act out by missing sessions, forgetting what took place, or by identifying with their abuser and thereby reenacting earlier traumatic experiences both in and out of session. When this threatens the safety of the therapeutic experience, the patient will need to be confronted with what they are doing and offered help in finding alternative means of expressing their fears, anger, and pain. In the earlier phases of treatment, the patient is made aware of the function of this dissociative self-states, and steps are taken by both the patient and the therapist to minimize their possible sabotage of the treatment process. It is then made quite clear that the therapy cannot proceed unless a more positive approach can take place, where the patient takes responsibility for his or her own actions. This may involve a request for admission to an inpatient unit or more intensive involvement of the community health team or GP, who is kept informed of what is taking place. So what they're talking about here is self-sabotage. A lot of people that have DID/complex post-traumatic stress disorder have self-sabotage issues, suicidal ideation, many other issues. And a therapist has to put up boundaries, but also be there to help soothe the patient and to help them to understand themselves. Over the years, I have been through self-harm, self-conflict issues, emergency situations due to these conflicts, and most of it is based on past beliefs, past actions. People that have treated me wrongly have embedded in me these beliefs, and so a lot of times I have to go, okay, this is not the same situation. This is something new, and I have to learn to trust the process and see if it's going to change. So I decided to do a video talking about my therapy. I just got done with therapy today, and yes, I'm driving home. This is the first time you'll ever see me driving home. I've been through a lot. I've dealt with a lot. Driving's not always easy. It took an hour to just be able to come to enough for my therapist to feel that I'm able to drive home. Sometimes, I'd say most of the time I don't drive much. It's been a long journey, this therapy with my current therapist. We're going on close to 10, 11 years of being together and working together. She is very, very certified and qualified in EMDR, CPT, DBT, EFT, and currently DNMS. They are methods to help you process through severe, neglectful, emotional, and sexual memories that really hurt you mentally and physically. And I'm still fighting to get my body temperature down a little bit. But as I'm driving another memory. And some people don't want to face it. Some people say, stop triggering me, how dare you make these videos. Then obviously you're not ready to go through the process of healing if you think my content is that triggering. And I apologize, I am still in the process of not smoking anymore. I have not had a cigarette since March. I smoke fume, which is an essential oil, and it helps me to focus and get that craving gone. If you want to give tips on how to work on coping mechanisms or give out information about the therapy you're receiving, which I still to this day have not seen one freaking person give the information on CBT, DBT, EMDR, EFT, and DNMS. Nobody. I think that the problem is with half these people is that they don't know what honesty is, and they don't have the ability to cope on their own, and they want somebody to give them this golden key to wellness. And there is no freaking golden key to wellness. You have to love yourself. You have to work on yourself. And if you're not confident to do that, then you really got a problem. Find a new therapist. My therapist, I'll be upfront and honest, she's a badass bitch. You know, if I'm down and I say I just don't want to do this anymore, she'll say something that'll make me change my mind. But here's the other thing you got to realize is I can't depend on her. When I'm in that office, she is my 100% support team. She is my everything, my breathing, my talking, my crying, my emotions. She gives me those things. She helps me to get those things. But when I step out of the office, her assignments and her treatment of me and her words, they have to stay in here because I need them. So per se, when I'm at home and I'm struggling, I can remember what she said, and I can use that for myself to get better. It's vital. It's vital that you have a very trusting relationship with your therapist. And I've told people before, give it a year, and if it doesn't feel right and you feel like you can't trust a therapist, then find another one. It took me 5 years to trust my therapist. She couldn't even touch my hand without me backing away or flinching. Now she's able to touch my hand and I feel comfort and joy. She'll never reach out to me, but I can reach out to her. And that's the idea, is to learn a trusting relationship. Therapists have the hardest job in the world, and that is to take on all these burdens of people that are suffering. And people need to learn to self-soothe. I don't care how you do it, but it needs to be done in therapy, you know. I have a few select friends that I love and care about, and we're there for each other. But in the long run, they're going to do good on their own. They're going to take care of themselves. That's what you need to do. So, number 2, problems around avoidance. Many of our clients are ambivalent about coming in for treatment. They may attempt to avoid any reminders of their therapeutic experience, either by bringing up different issues and problems in their treatment sessions, by failing to attend sessions, or by not carrying out the tasks they agreed to do. If this avoidant pattern persists, the therapist needs to clarify what may lie behind this behavior. In some cases, the client clearly believes that the therapeutic journey is too dangerous and too painful, and they cannot make a commitment. In these cases, we go with the resistance and advise them to stop treatment for the time being. They are encouraged to return when they feel ready for the journey. Many patients make a stronger commitment at this point. In other cases, their diagnosis of PTSD has clearly given them a role in the system which they do not want to lose, either for legal reasons or for family reasons. In some cases of therapy, a traumatic reenactment may take place within the therapy that appears as an insoluble conflict for either the patient and or the therapist or both. So what they're talking about is the resistance of treatment. Sometimes people have to grow up more before they can process their trauma and are willing to face the fears that they deal with. This is an issue for a lot of people around their 30s and 40s, where they decide they just can't live with this pain anymore and they want to get through the trauma and understanding of the parental role and dealing with their dissociative identity disorder and their complex post-traumatic symptoms, okay? This is a hard road to hurdle. I ain't gonna lie. There are a lot of things that need to be worked through and needs need to be met. And the longer you wait to face your trauma, your horrible past, your memories, the more pain your body's going to be in. It's going to affect you health-wise. And that's where I push people to try to get into treatment. Try to face those memories. Look at them, view them on a screen, on a wall, whatever. Because if you don't, it's going to make your health worse. And people that do not have legit DID or complex post-traumatic stress disorder from trauma will never understand how that works. They can fake it till they break it because it's not the same. People that have been through severe trauma from childhood on up are more apt to fall into enmeshment issues, health problems, you name it. But they also are stronger. And when healing correctly with the proper therapeutic processes, they become very strong. They become very willed. And you will notice somebody that has really done the work is going to be able to stand up for themselves and not put up with any kind of nonsense whatsoever. Now, number 3, problems associating with ending. Now they're talking about ending therapy. How do you process that? How do you deal with that? The ending of treatment is always a major step in therapy of patients suffering from complex PTSD/DID. For many, the gains experienced in the treatment may seem to disappear and very childlike wishes to be cared for emerge. The prospect of ending brings back childhood experiences of rejection, loss, and abuse that need to be worked through. If rage can be expressed in the therapy, these bodies well for these patients who have spent their lives either suppressing their anger or expressing it inappropriately. I don't know why there must be a misspell in the books. It says BODES, bodes well, something. Anyway, let's go to number 4, okay? Taking care of the therapist. There is no doubt that secondary or various traumatization is a very dangerous aspect of working with these particular groups of patients. In order to work in this field, it is important for therapists to develop other activities, interests, both within and outside their professional life. Group supervision should be provided on a weekly basis, and the team members need to feel that they can express themselves freely. They may feel anger or disgust, frustration and helplessness, and in many cases doubt as to whether they are doing the right thing. While supervision does take place in the group setting, a therapist should feel free to talk to her supervisor about her personal issues that may arise when a patient touches a personal wound in the therapist. This latter must know that he or she can seek guidance and support as well as therapy outside the work context. The reason I love this part is because very vaguely, my therapist has talked about the need to connect with other specialists that particularly work with CPTSD patients and DID patients, okay? It is a special field because you have to have extreme patience and extreme understanding of dissociative disorders. And if your therapist is not seeking guidance to work with you and then work with other doctors or professionals on this, it may not be a need that is being met for you. It is vital that a therapist has boundaries, relief aids, and the ability to communicate with other specialists in order to be able to treat you. Okay? Let's get to the conclusion here. The treatment of patients suffering from simple or complex PTSD/DID is one of the most interesting and challenging areas of work in the field of mental health. We are not only dealing here with a disorder that is only just beginning to be recognized, but we are also constantly learning new forms of treatment, which each end of which opens up new perspectives on how the mind works in relation to the therapeutic experience. To the shattered selves of the survivors who land up in our clinic, we attempt to help them find their own story, one of integration and hope. And there's also the need of some people that can't integrate. They find multiticity to be useful, which means that they have no amnesia, but they are able to live with the dissociative alternative selves, okay? Again, the reason I loved this chapter was because it gave such detail on what needs to be done and how to help a patient with DID/CPTSD. I'm hoping that complex post-traumatic stress disorder will be more brought to awareness with DID, because those two kind of go together, okay? Because of the severe trauma as a child that you go through, there's always a past history, usually medical-wise, mental-wise. Mine is very detailed. It goes all the way back to 2 or 3 years old, especially even like my childhood assessments that I got copies of. You can see there is some cognitive behavioral issues, impairments with my speech, whatnot. I was already going through a lot of abuse from that I can vaguely remember from age 2 on up. And there's medical evidence also provided for that from my past. It took a long time. Basically, your therapist is an investigator helping you to remember. And that's priceless. It really is. It is priceless. And if you can make it work and you can get through those memories and realize that they're a past memory, you can heal. And that's what I'm after. I want that more than anything, because I want to be able to get through life. There are ailments in my health that will never go away because of this disorder, but I want to work through them. It's my goal. And I don't mind sharing that information with you. And if that's not your goal, then you don't belong on this page. So that's all I have today, guys. And I hope you found this useful, and you're more than welcome to use it in your therapy. And again, I'm not a professional, but I've been at this a long time, more than 20 years. So, loves. Bye.